Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all, worst word.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcasts should have a theme song. Podcasts should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Hey, Hal.
Oh, man.
You sound scared. Why are you scared?
I don't, when we do 2 episodes back to back, which this is a 2-episode night.
Yeah.
We will each pick a topic. And we've surprised each other in the past to mixed results. Let's be honest.
Sure.
I always feel I feel a lot more nervous when you're picking the topic because I know that you will sometimes pick the stack of hats. The hat on
I do enjoy a hat on a hat on a hat. I do enjoy, look, it did run through my brain because I did see best app on our list to make a bracket where we pit appetizers against cell phone applications.
Oh my God, it's so many hats. It's too many hats. It's too many hats.
But this is a very simple one. And this has been on our list for a very long time. And we have never tackled this topic. Okay. And I went online and did a little research.
Okay.
And this is a topic that people do talk about.
Okay.
And this is a topic that is fun to aggregate. I will tell you this. I've done so much of the homework for this already, Hal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've picked the contenders. I picked many contenders. I'm sure you will add more. And I've divided them into 5 categories of contender. We will pull one from each category of contender. And then we will ultimately at the end discover once and for all time. Hal's face right now is amazing because this is the first time he's hearing this.
I have no idea what it is. You recorded it. I took my headphones out.
I did. And I recorded the opening thing. We will determine once and for all, what is the worst word?
Oh, for f***'s sake.
It's good that you say that because I'm eliminating from the get-go anything that could be deemed universally or generally offensive.
Okay.
So the worst, obviously there are some very terrible words that no one uses in polite company.
Sure.
That are the worst words. But that's not how you make a fun podcast.
No.
This is all words that can be said on network television.
Okay.
So I've divided them up into 5 categories.
5 categories?
Yeah. I think we can pull a worst word. You sound so skeptical. How do you feel right now, Hal?
I'm skeptical.
Why are you skeptical?
I'm just curious what's going on. Curious what the game is here.
No, there's no game. I just have a list. I have a list of words that fit into 5 categories, and we'll pick them from the 5 categories.
I'm in the game of this episode. I have to figure it out. I have to work my way into it because I'm completely blind here. But go ahead.
All right. You're not completely blind. You know the topic.
Well, now I do. But you say 5 categories?
All right. I'll give you the 5 categories. You can tell me which one you want to start with.
Yeah.
Here are the 5 categories of worst word in the English language.
Okay.
Cutesy, body, connotations. That's words where they're evocative of something that is unpleasant.
Okay.
Sound, the sound of the word itself is either unpleasantly onomatopoetic or is in some cases difficult to say. And then use. Words whose usage is what is annoying about the word that could put it to the point of worst word. So
let's start with connotation, please.
You want to start with connotation. The words on the connotation list are, by the way, I should say that all of these words were compiled from as many different lists of what's the worst word in the world that I could find this afternoon and then whittled down to some that I think were the big contenders.
Okay.
In this category, damp, dripping, discharge, crevice, gushing, smear, yeast, and flaccid.
Yeast? I get it, but also you need that for bread.
Sure. Look, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just giving you the big list of these are the ones that kept popping up over and over again. I think yeast for some obvious connotations and also the fact that it's just tiny animals that fart bread. Isn't that how bread gets made? They eat flour and fart bread, right?
Around the corner, bread gets made. Yeah.
Are there any in that list
Yeah.
that stick out to you as the worst?
I know what my pick would be out of this list. The worst word.
What's that?
Gushing.
Gush. Out of all of these, gushing is the one, huh?
Yeah.
Why gushing out of all of them?
I just think gushing in general is look, there are times where gushing can be a good thing. Like I'm gushing about somebody. I'm saying a lot of nice things, but there's something uncontrollable and messy about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's this category in particular is connotation. So I think there's very messy connotations to gushing.
Yeah. Like discharge is another one in that family, but it has a dual meaning.
Sure.
Right? Like if you're, when I have to have surgery, when I have to have a procedure done, I am very excited for the moment where they discharge me so that I can leave.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's positive. You can be discharged from the army.
Sure.
Which, if it's an honorable discharge, is a good thing. It means you served well and now you're ready for the next phase of your life.
Yeah. And damp and dripping, while common on these lists, just feel more kind of generally unpleasant and spooky, but not necessarily the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Crevice is a pretty terrible one. Because crevice to me, in the same way that like gushing has a mess that comes with it, I feel like crevice has a smell that comes with that word.
Yeah, it's pretty smelly in there.
It's like it's a stinky word. Crevice is a stinky word. And it could be an assortment of smells.
Stinky stink word.
But like, if something smells like a crevice, it does not smell good, regardless of what it smells like.
When I hear damp, because I've been looking at a lot of houses, it immediately turns my stomach because I'm like, oh, there's going to be water damage there. That's going to be something that's going to come up in inspection. That's going to need to be fixed. Anybody who is a homeowner has gone through a home buying process. Also growing up around the home buying process, damp is always a bad thing, but I don't think it's the worst word.
No, I think the worst thing, if you're looking for a house, would be a gushing crevice. If they're like, hey, this house, just so you know, this house has a gushing crevice.
And it's gushing yeast.
It's a gushing yeast crevice. That's okay. Don't worry. The flow of water is usually quite flaccid, but sometimes you'll get a smear of water. I don't know why smear. That word also goes on the onomatopoeia list, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
Oh, all right. I think between gushing and crevice, I think those are the two worst on this list.
Yeah.
Do we want the word that comes with the smell or the mess? Both of the things you have to clean up.
I feel like a gush could also stink.
That's true. I think it's gushing.
The crevice was gushing pus. Which is the worst?
Don't use up all of our words right now, Hal.
Oh, is pus on the list?
Which category do you want to go to next?
Let's go body.
You sound so excited about this episode. All right. Are you ready?
I'm into it. I'm in. I'm locked in.
All right. So coming out of the connotation category, it's gushing with the victory. All right. Body, sputum, mucus, pus, phlegm, pustule, goiter, and for its sheer old-timey weirdness, bosom.
I don't think bosom's bad at all. I think bosom's there's like a poetry to it.
I kind of like the poetry of bosom, but for some reason that was on a bunch of lists, and it does sound it does sound like a word of the patriarchy.
Yeah. It is pronounced sputum, by the way.
Sputum. I thought it was sputum. Sputum.
Remember the Sputum County spelling bee?
Yes. You remember when Russia put Sputum 1 up into the sky?
Oh, that was the space race.
Sputum. All right. Sputum's even worse than sputum.
Yeah.
I guess it's one of those words I've only ever read and not heard.
So there's no way, if you've never heard it, that it could be that bad a word. It just doesn't appear that often.
Yeah, sputum. But what it gross. is pustule is so gross because it's got pus, and it feels like a pustule has an impending eruption.
Do you ever watch those videos of people getting like pimples popped and stuff?
No, those are the grossest videos of all time, and I don't understand why people watch them. I don't want to kink shame anyone, but those videos are super weird to me.
It's not kink. I find it fascinating, not the pimple popping, the ingrown hairs, because it's under a microscope. So it's like they're pulling a tree trunk out of a dust bowl. But I'll tell you what I do watch that I think is absolutely fascinating, and mostly because I want to have it done. I'm convinced that my ears are loaded with wax.
What do you want to have done?
I want to do the wax.
Stick a Q-tip in there.
With the no, that pushes it in further. It packs it in. there are these tools that they use to, like, they can flush it out. There are all these, like, EMTs on TikTok, and it's videos of them doing, like, oh, this was a removal of this plug. You can see it's very deep in there. You have to be very careful not to puncture the eardrum or cause any discomfort. But this is, and then he pulls out this gross, it looks like the evil version of a marble from this person's ear and pulls it out. And all I can think of, well, number one, I think that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gross to look at it because it's somebody else's earwax. But I also think, like, oh, what relief that person must feel. They're probably hearing things better.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what I don't know if I need it done, but I want it done.
You don't just use the Q-tip and give it the twirl. So it's like, like when the cone gets the cotton candy out of the machine.
I do, but you're still essentially packing it in there. There's nothing for it to really grip onto.
Mm.
But maybe I don't need it. Who knows?
Maybe start sticking Velcro Q-tips in your ears.
That's a good idea.
Velcro Q-tip, great on a Scrabble board.
I'll just put the vacuum hose over my ear and it'll suck everything out, and then I don't have to worry about it, including my brains.
What about phlegm?
Phlegm
it also looks gross. The word looks gross. Phlegm is what it looks like.
Loogie is a grosser version.
We'll get to loogie. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
It's in a different category. Oddly, it's in a different category.
Those don't bother me as much. A pustule just, like, reeks of disease.
Yeah.
And it's
pustule there's kinetic energy in a pustule.
Yeah.
That could go at any moment.
Just gross.
Yeah. And also it has the word pus in it.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, you think pus is gross?
How about a pustule
on the end of it? Yeah.
Mucus. Look, everybody gets mucus, man. We all been there.
Everybody has mucus.
Sputum. You blew my mind. I thought it was sputum this whole time.
Sputum.
Huh. All right. I think we're in agreement on the winner from the body category.
Sure.
So far our two finalists are gushing and pustule.
Yes.
Which could be combined into an adjective and a noun. Gushing pustule of an episode that we're doing right now, Hal. Why? Now, don't make that sound.
It's just gross words. I don't like the words.
They are gross words.
I'm thinking about the sentence that the 5 winners will create together.
Ooh, this is exciting. Well, what category do you want next then? You've got cutesy, sound, and use.
Let's go sound.
Sound. All right. These are words that by their sound drive enough people crazy that they showed up on multiple lists on the internet. One of them I don't quite get. 2 of them actually I don't quite get, but they kept popping up. So I'm going to point them out. And those are tofu and clogged. I think both of those words are delightful words that could be hilarious in a song, but people don't like the word clogged or tofu.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with either of those.
And simply for the difficulty of saying it, a lot of people don't like the word rural, which of course was an episode, The Rural Juror. Do you remember that episode of 30 Rock?
Yes.
Yeah, where Jane Krakowski is trying to tell everyone about her new movie she's doing called The Rural Juror, and nobody has any idea what the movie is actually called because she's only said it and never written it down. But the words on this list, are you ready? It's got the biggest contender is on this particular list.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, the one that, if you ask enough of our friends what they think is the worst word, they would probably say this one. And that is moist, of course, slacks, flaps, ointment, squat, and squelch.
It's moist.
I think it's moist, but also the more I think about it, you know what word on this list really bothers me? There's actually one that really bothers me the more I hear it. And there's one that New Yorker magazine named the worst word in the English language. And that is slacks.
What's wrong with slacks?
I don't know. They say it sounds like running your hand over a piece of polyester. That's the sound it makes.
What a bunch
So
of
it's just the word
New Yorker.
slacks just sounds uncomfortable.
Snobby. That's snobby.
I also think it's moist, but the one that popped into my head when I kept reading it was like, yeah, you know what? I really don't like the word flaps.
So every time you ride at a plane,
flaps. Yeah. Flaps up. You flaps up. That's gross.
Flappy Bird, you don't like that? Or is flappy not the same as flaps?
I don't think it's the same as flaps. Flaps because it's got the ps at the end. It's got a rim shot.
Son, let's see those flaps. Yeah, that sounds bad.
Yeah. Ointment is just kind of a weird
Put some ointment on your flaps.
Hey, your pustule's gushing. Put some ointment on your flaps. Man, you got to keep it moist. Yep. Even then, out of that whole gross sentence, the only thing that gave me the blah, blah, blah was you got to keep it moist.
You could tell that pustule's going to be gushing. It's been moist for a long time.
Did you say gushing?
I said goishing.
Goishing. That's okay. I said sputum.
They're goishing.
Goishing.
The pustule.
But, out of this list, I mean, it's got to be moist, right? Moist is
it's got to be moist.
Moist can't not make it to the finals.
Great in a cake, terrible coming out of a mouth.
Exactly. You know what else is terrible coming out of a mouth? A gushing pustule. A goishing pustule.
A goishing. The pustule's goishing.
All right. I'm going to say, let's go to, cause this last one will take a little while, I think. And then we'll do it. We'll do this one, then we'll do a little break.
Okay.
Let's go with the cutesy ones. Okay. Again, I think there is one on the list of cutesy ones that is universally regarded as terrible, at least by half of the population of our society.
Hit me with it.
All right. The list of cutesy worst words in the English language. Loogie, doily, puce, a combo, but both of them were on the lists that they appeared on separately, but they go together. Wifey and hubby. Ugh, wifey is the worst.
Yeah.
And of course, panties.
I feel like a lot of people dislike panties.
So many people dislike, just call them underwear.
Doesn't bother me, but I feel like it bothers enough people.
Yeah.
That is a legitimate.
Just say underwear.
Something like, don't call it panties.
Yeah. It's like weirdly cutesy and like the cutesiness itself is what makes it gross.
I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with anybody using it, but I would think it just because I'm aware. I don't think the winner comes out of this category. Although wifey and hubby.
Wifey sucks.
Is like slap.
Yeah.
My mother would be like, slap your face.
Did your mom say that? She would say slap.
I mean, she would intimate that she would slap somebody in the face.
Did your mother ever slap anybody in the face? Or did she just threaten slapping people because the idea of your mom, you're the kindest woman in the world, just threatening to slap you in the face?
Ask me again when we're done recording.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
I think it's panties.
I think it's panties too.
Yeah.
Though wifey, hubby doesn't really bother me. Cause hubby feels like,
they're the same.
They are. Yeah.
Hubby's okay because you're talking about the guy, but
no, hubby's okay because it's not the whole word just with a Y added at the end.
It seems lazy. Instead of what
hubby seems like a nickname.
Why?
Yeah. Hubby seems like a shortened nickname. Wifey is just that's just cutesifying the entire word. You're adding more word to add an element of domination to it.
They both feel a little belittling. Like, little wifey, little hubby.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Wifey feels belittling. Like. Hubby feels like it's just shortening husband.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, maybe it is wifey.
I think wifey's
pretty bad.
Wifey's pretty terrible. Though panties is more universally regarded as.
Panties feels like a coin flip.
What do you mean?
I'm okay with panties because I think some people it bothers, some people it doesn't bother at all.
Yeah.
On all parts of the gender spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are people who do not like panties because they just think it's a gross word. Mm-hmm. And there are people who just don't mind it. They're like, it's just a word, or that's what I call it because I grew up calling it that or whatever. But there's something about it being specific, like the specific type of underwear it's referring to that makes it seem extra gross.
Yeah. Maybe it's also that both of those are belittling names.
Yeah.
But one is belittling a whole personal relationship.
Yeah.
And the other is just the word that everybody doesn't like.
The other is belittling an entire group of people who wear that type of underwear. Regardless of, I mean, it certainly starts.
Well, I meant that wifey was belittling an entire relationship.
Yeah. There's something misogynistic about it that makes it something misogynistic about both of them. Yes. But I think wifey maybe is worse.
By the way, I feel weird that it's you and I being the ones talking about this and that we don't have a female
Who better than two? You want me to go get Jennifer?
Go get Jennifer and see between the two of them what she thinks. I feel like we definitely we should not be the two experts on this particular binary.
I'll be right back.
Okay. While Hal is asking Jen, let's go to a break. We will come back in just a couple of minutes. But until then, please hear about some of the other great shows on the Maximum Fun Network. We'll be right back.
Did your neighbor back into your car?
Bring that case to Judge Judy.
Think the mailman might be the real father?
Give that one to Judge Mathis.
But does your mom want you to flush her ashes down the toilet at Disney World when she passes away?
Now that's my jurisdiction. Welcome to the court of Judge John Hodgman, where the people are real, the disputes are real, and the stakes are often unusual.
If I got arrested for dumping your ashes in the Jungle Cruise, it would be an honor.
I don't want to be part of somebody getting a super yacht.
I don't know at what point you want to go into this, but we've had a worm bin before.
Available free right now at MaximumFun.org.
Judge John Hodgman, the court of last resort when your wife won't stop pretending to be a cat and knocking the clean laundry over.
Hey, kid. Your dad tell you about the time he broke Stephen Dorff's nose at the Kids' Choice Awards?
In Dead Pilot Society, scripts that were developed by studios and networks but were never produced are given the table reads they deserve.
When I was a kid, I had to spend my Christmas break filming a PSA about angel dust. So yeah, being a kid sucks sometimes.
Presented by Andrew Reich and Ben Blacker. Dead Pilot Society, twice a month on MaximumFun.org.
You know, the show you like, that hobo with the scarf who lives in a magic dumpster.
Doctor Who?
Yeah!
And we're back, and Hal is coming right back with the answer from Jen.
Okay, so it's panties.
All right. So far, with the the 4 words that we have going into the finals are moist panties, gushing pustule. We have one left. This one I thought was pretty funny because I know you and I are both nerds. I think I might be more of a grammar nerd than you are, but I know you've got a little bit of grammar nerd in you. This is words that these words themselves might not necessarily be the worst word, but they are used erroneously with frequency.
Okay.
And 2 of them actually are nonsense words. Some that are overused. I will divide this into further subcategories. 2 very overused of late by the pretentious, and that would be artisanal and referring to your wedding as nuptials. Yeah. This is one that drives a lot of linguistically minded people online crazy. The 3 words, this is a trio, arguably / basically / essentially, because they are words that are simply filler that do nothing within a sentence. Mm-hmm. One that is overused and dismissive, and that is, of course, whatever. One that is used exactly in the opposite way of the way it is supposed to be used, and that is literally.
Yes.
And 2 words that mean absolutely nothing, irregardless and ideation. Like
we're ideating something.
Yeah. Right now. If you're trying to have ideas, then you are ideating. And if you come up with an idea, it's not an idea, it's an ideation.
A word that doesn't exist can't be the worst word.
Even if they pop up as non-standard, they pop up in the dictionary, but they pop up as non-standard. Like irregardless is a garbage nonsense word.
It means nothing.
It means nothing, but it means the opposite of what it is, but people use it. People use a made up word like, I think you might be right though. I don't want to give irregardless word status in this.
Of these, probably whatever is bad, like is also.
Like and dude also showed up.
Whatever I think actually was voted like worst word or most hated word.
Was it really?
Years in a row.
Because it is it's just by its nature dismissive.
It's dismissive. It's filler.
Yeah.
Of these, if I were to pick, my choice of these would be literally.
Yeah.
Because it's almost never used properly.
Mm-hmm.
It almost never needs to be used.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've seen literally used properly, but lately it hasn't been that often. So
I'm so guilty of this, dude. I did it seconds ago in this very podcast and had to catch myself.
You're like, I'm literally burning out of my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't heard the Dave Cross bit about the word literally, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. So please go back and listen to it. It's taking all I have not to quote it right now, but
good job.
Yeah. Literally and whatever I think are the 2 out of this. Nuptials was one that was funny that it kept popping up for me because I love the idea that People are annoyed at when they're going to a wedding. They're like, come to our nuptials. And
so what? Like,
yeah, that doesn't bother me. It's your wedding. Let them get married. They want to call it their nuptials, married, whatever.
They can call it whatever they want. There is a word that's not on here that I would sort of add in.
What's that?
Kind of feels overused, but it may just be unpleasant to me. And that's the word doggo, which isn't really a word.
Oh, for dogs?
Yeah. It feels like that wave already crested and it has crashed to the shore a long time ago, but people are still using it. However, I love dogs, so you can call them whatever you want.
I thought you had said kinda, and that was what you were saying.
No. Doggo bothers me a little bit, but not really that much.
Mm-hmm. Kinda could be on this list, though. My acting teacher, the late, great David Avcali, said when he would talk to actors and he would say, okay, what do you want in this scene? He'd say, well, I kinda want, and he'd say, I'm going to stop you right there. Kinda is going to be the death of you. If it's the middle of the night and you're kinda hungry, you stay in bed. If it's the middle of the night and you're hungry, you get up, you go downstairs and you make a sandwich, and that's way more active and you could put on a stage. So kinda as the ice cube in the hot coffee to just sort of tepid down things. But I don't think that the tepiding down of things has the same negative impact that whatever and literally do.
Yeah.
It's tough between those two.
I think it's literally.
Yeah, I'm fully comfortable with that.
I'm literally over that word.
Boo. I don't want to do it because I'm so guilty of that. I don't want to be the worst. But you know what? Whatever. It's literally. All right. We have our 5 finalists, Hal. Literally moist. Gushing panties pustule.
I hate that whole sentence.
It's not even a sentence because there's not really a verb in there.
Oh no, it's a sentence. I've been sentenced to listen to it multiple times.
Fair.
Where are you going? Where do you think?
I think that if we were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and we had our lifeline of Ask the Audience left, I think that it would be roughly 50-50 between moist and panties. I think that pustule, gushing, and literally are long shots in this. I think literally has the best chance of coming in as a dark horse against panties and moist. But I think we can eliminate pustule and gushing right now. Mm-hmm. As fun as they are to say, yeah, let's get off that ride.
I actually would argue that our listeners in particular tend to be very intelligent people.
I would agree.
And as such, it might bother them more to hear a word constantly misused than just one that is unpleasant to the ears.
Are you overtly pandering to the people of the world?
They don't get a say in this. It's you and me.
That's true.
I'm arguing if we went to the audience, if we were using our audience, poll the audience.
That's true. I did introduce that and then poo-poo it immediately.
That they might.
I didn't mean to.
I think the chance is greater that they would pick literally than you think it is.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess I just think of like generally those words, panties and moist, being terrible. Like, I'd like to point out, by the way, this might be the most uncomfortable episode for parents to listen to in the car with their kids, but we've said no swear words.
Not one, except the one I said.
Except the one Hal said at the very beginning.
And that was bleeped.
Yes, of course it was. Knowing the people of the world. Mm-hmm. The thing is, I don't know if people using literally poorly makes it literally's fault. You know what I mean?
All right. Do you want to just say it's panties?
And clue, the candlestick is not the worst object. It's just that someone is using it for murder.
Sometimes
it's people are using it for the opposite of what it's supposed to be used for. That's not the word literally's fault.
The knife looks like a nail file in that game.
A little bit, yeah, or a letter opener. The thing that drives me nuts is in the most recent version, the little metal gun that says revolver is an automatic pistol. And I'm like, this is not a revolver. And that drives me crazy. But that's just me being pedantic. Actually, the best Christmas movie.
I think it's panties.
You think it's yeah. I mean, just Jen's reaction to it. Don't ever say that.
That's like our first date.
Hold on. What?
Our first date, we're sitting there. No, I'm saying the don't ever say that part.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm not saying it was like, hey, panties.
Hey, which restaurant do you want to go to? Do you want to go to the Copper Cellar or Panties with an exclamation point after an apostrophe S?
Now, one of the places has really good wings. If that sways you. I'm literally starving over here. We gotta pick a place.
Oh, look at, can we get a server over here? This table is moist. Does someone have a rag? This is a moist table.
Hold on. Let me check the pustule on my elbow.
It's gushing. Oh, that's how the table got moist. We need to wipe this up. Quick, give me your panties. Yep. See, even in that sentence, that word is still the worst part of it.
On my first date with Jennifer, we were getting to know one another, talking about where you're from, what it was like growing up. And she was Jen at the time. And Jennifer had said, does anybody call you Jenny? And I got a look that I'd never seen from another person before. Someone else was behind her eyes for a moment. And she looked me straight in my eyes and said, no.
Hey, and Hal, do we need to ask her to come in again and see which is a worse word between panties and Jenny?
No. And please nobody listens. Don't even, it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
One time in 17 years of knowing her, have I done it like, oh, this will be kind of funny. I'm going to say, hey, Jenny. And I did it. And she looked at me again with that look. And
was it the same other person behind her eyes?
Yeah. It was like I'm not part of whatever you're doing right now. And I know you didn't say that. And I'm going to give you a second to carry on with your life as if it never happened. And so I know that that's not a bridge for me to cross.
That's fair.
And I know that for some people, panties is similar.
Yeah.
And so I think we can say that people of the world, the answer to this episode is panties. We're not going to say that word again because it's the worst word. Will we slip up and mention it in a future episode? Will that word wind up in there? We can't control our guests.
Yeah.
Or our ability to remember what happened in this episode.
Yeah. Or our Neverland themed Disney purchases. And I really want to show Hal my new shirt. And I say, Hal, check out all of these new Peter. You get it.
Asked and answered.
That was a long route I made you take there right at the end.
I appreciate it.
This very unpleasant topic is finally, thank you, closed. But there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us on Twitter or
email us at wegotthis@gmail.com, or you can join all the fun and conversation happening in our Facebook group. Talk about the words that irk you, maybe ones that we didn't even mention. That's what it's about. Facebook.com/groups/wegotthis podcast. Do we know who suggested this one, Mark?
Yes, we do. It was Ashley Siobhan.
Ashley Siobhan, thank you for suggesting this. Also, thank you to producer Ken Plume. You can listen to his podcast, A Bit of a Chat with Ken Plume, wherever you listen to podcasts, fascinating conversations and interviews with notable people from pop culture and beyond. Also, thank you to researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Eric Hillman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world. I am going to draw nothing from previous moments in this episode. I am simply going to move forward from all of that and say, we love you and we thank you for listening to the episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody.
We literally got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.